Hey, it's Julie Ziemelis, 365 Hawaii and Real Broker, and I am here with,
Amber Haley, also real broker.
and we are bringing you the East Hawaii real estate market update and usually some of our own personal opinions afterwards. So we will start today with the last time we spoke. We said, let's see what happens after the election. And now here we are in mid-November, right after the election. And so we are going to see, it probably hasn't affected the housing market yet, but it definitely is having an impact on the mortgage. And so just so you guys can know more about what's happening with the mortgage rates, we've invited Travis Green to come and do a special mortgage report tomorrow. Thursday at 3 p.m. live if you want to join us on our Facebook page, and we'll put the rest up on YouTube. But having the economics behind just the numbers, I think, is important. And so, Amber, share us the numbers, and maybe you can also tell us any trends that you're actually seeing right now in the market beyond what in the numbers of what happened in October.
Okay. All right. We'll start with the numbers. So
Okay.
we're going to go over the two districts that we normally do on the east side of the Big Island here. So we're going to talk about the South Hilo district and the Puna district. And we have had, I would say, pretty notable change since our last market update.
Okay.
As far as the median home price goes for all of what we're going to focus on is single family homes, because that's most of the transactions and probably what most of you who are watching are purchasing. So we're going to talk about the single family homes median price for the last month since our last market update. So in the Puna district, we'll start in Puna. There were 72 single family homes that sold in the month of October. So that was like the last full month's worth of market data. And that's a little bit more than the month before when we had a market update when it was 69.
Okay.
And it's just one less than a year ago when it was 73.
Okay.
So the market was moving about the same. However, when we look at the median price of those single family homes, the median price of our latest month was $393,000. And if you don't remember, from our last market update, it was $400,000. So a little bit lower.
Just a bit.
Just a little bit lower. And a year ago, though, it was $355. So we're still up from a year ago.
Okay.
Down a little bit from our last market update. And if we're talking final listed sales price, do you want to take any guesses?
Is it 96?
Well, you're very close. I mean, it's always around there.
Yeah.
It's actually 94.47.
94. There you go.
For those, the last month of single family homes that sold in Puna. And that is down just slightly from 95.2% from our last market update to the month before. And it is up a little bit from a year ago when it was 93%. So
yeah. 93 is like really, yeah. So that's still kind of like a negotiating market, right? That you can still have a little, we always joke around. That's what what would that be? That would be 6% off housing. In fact, I priced a listing that we have here in Kona, and we picked up the number, and I said, that might come down 5% because the listed sales price is right now 5% under what the asking price is. And he, just like I think a lot of other people, said, well, whatever it takes, right? People say, whatever it takes to sell a home. I do think that sellers are starting to finally get the reality check that they were missing a little bit last year.
Yeah.
Right. So,
absolutely. I think they're like really sinking in. I think.
Yes. It's like, let's just move this house. Also, days on market. Did you say?
Yes. So no, we're going to say that next because that is probably the most interesting stat.
Yes. And I've learned from statistics and going to the conference that she and I went to in October that people really want to know how long will it be for me to be able to sell my house in this market?
Yes. Okay. So days on market for the month of October, which keep in mind that it was an election year. So October is like the weeks really directly prior to the presidential election, which I will say a lot of people, both on the buy and sell side, a lot of my clients and just chatter that I hear, were waiting to make big decisions and big moves until after the election. So this is not that surprising to me that our days on market for Puna were 70 days on the market. That was their average. Now that is more than the month prior where it was 52.
Well, 52 to 70?
We went from 52 the month before to 70. That's pretty significant. That's more than 2 weeks longer.
Yeah.
And if we look at a year ago, though, the market was 68 days on market. So it's almost exactly the same as where we were at.
Well, this time last year, I think the interest rates went to 8%.
Yeah. That was when that.
Yeah, that was a bad day too. So
yeah. So that's kind of interesting. And if you are either a buyer or a seller, this is really important for you to know. Now, it's going to be different, obviously, like we always talk about house to house and listing to listing, because sometimes a house will sit on the market for something really other than what's going on in the market. Exactly. Maybe it's pricing, maybe there's some like major red flags in the private remarks that your agent can point out for you or something like that.
Or maybe the seller still isn't motivated because of personal reasons.
Yeah, they're just the pricing too high and not motivated enough to sell. So, but in general, stuff sitting longer. I do think, I'm not one to love to make a lot of predictions, but just based on like how, you and I have talked about what usually happens after an election year. I mean, the holidays, a lot of people will wait till after the election and maybe like, okay, now we're getting into the holidays, maybe wait longer. But I do think we're going to see like a big pickup on like housing stuff.
I think so too.
Next year, like
early
quarter next year.
Yeah. In fact, we have like, and you're meeting with some too. I've gotten people saying, me and my family are coming, we're going to buy a house, or we're going to buy a house in the next like few months. We're going to come and do a look around. I've seen more of that than I have seen in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So people are just saying, you know what, now's the time. And a lot of people, interestingly enough, are moving around family money.
Oh.
Through the homes that they've already sold on the mainland, and now they've got a chunk of change to work with.
Yeah.
And I think they want to come in as cash buyers, but they also want to be able to come and put their feet on the ground here.
Yeah.
And so, that's, and we talked, we talked about this, that historically prices go up after an election because the boomerang slingshot effect of buyers coming back into the market. And then also like with the sellers, some of the sellers, well, I don't want to do it. But as we're heading into the Christmas season, we're also heading into when a lot of people are here looking for houses.
Yeah.
Because unlike a lot of the rest of the country where it's cold and snowy and no one wants to do anything, here's where everyone shows up and wants to buy a house.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you and I both work with a lot of relocation clients. So we see, that's kind of a different process of buying than somebody who's like maybe lived here their whole life.
Right.
Or been, born and raised here or whatever. So for us, like this, I really want everyone listening to pay attention to what you said. Like home sales, we both agree, will probably increase next year. And a lot of people, not only were they waiting till after the election, but they're also maybe waiting out the holidays or coming into scouting.
Right.
If I was a buyer and I wanted to be really smart about it and I was coming to scout maybe over the holidays, like I would be ready to write an offer.
Just in case you find something.
Because you're going to have probably less competition and probably lower prices.
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely.
So just something to keep in mind, you don't, and it's also a little risky to come and look at homes before you're really ready to buy because the situations can change so much and you might find something that you love. So I would just, recommend if you're coming out to scout, kind of in this slower season, maybe be ready. Just be ready in case that you do find the one, because I think strategically it would be smarter if you're in a position to do so, which not everybody is, but if you are, to maybe make an offer sooner than later, before the prices go up, before everybody else
Yep.
does.
And also, once some of this inventory gets cleared out of sellers who have sat there going, God, where's it going to money? And the new stuff comes on, then the new people are going to say, they're going to be a whole separate set of humans where you've got the tired people, the ones who had their houses on the market for 70 to 100 days, willing to make deals, right? Yeah. But you get new people saying, well, I was waiting until the holidays are over, or coming into the new year to get new fresh buyers coming onto the island. They're just a different mentality of what you can be doing in terms of negotiation and everything else. Yeah. Also, with Easter Y too, do you see a lot of move up market? I mean, do you see people who are like coming out of renting and buying their first homes? In like HPP and stuff, is that happening there? No,
it's not the majority of my clients, so I couldn't speak to like for sure everybody else's. Because most of the clients that I work with, and this is like the hard thing about the affordability issues in Hawaii, is most of my clients who are buying for the first time in Hawaii are relocating to Hawaii. Okay. So most of them are homeowners previously in somewhere, whether that's Hawaii or another state. It is challenging, I think, for like, this is like the least amount of like first time home buyers, and this is a nationwide stat. I don't know the stat for Hawaii, but like that there have ever been in the market. It is a really challenging time. So I think like probably a lot of agents would also have that same experience as me, where it's not as many like, when they're usually, they're renters usually first. So, I don't have that many clients in that situation right now. Not to say they don't exist, though.
Well, we did a study on who is buying houses in Hawaii, the state of Hawaii. And people would think that it's a large amount of investors. That's not the case. They've actually shown that like over a third, almost maybe even like half, are like move around buyers. Like Hawaii residents are buying Hawaii homes.
Yeah. Statistically, I mean, it does feel like, I think to a lot of people, especially who are frustrated about the housing market, that it's like all these other people
Like investors are coming in from the mainland.
But yeah, when you look at the stats, it's like overwhelmingly local residents buying local.
Yep. Yep. And there was a big movement to say, let's cut off all foreign buyers. And they realized like foreign buyers were taking up like less than 12% of the market.
Yeah,
it's very expensive. And that's when people kind of say, well, who's taking the housing? It is very expensive for foreign buyers to buy in Hawaii because the way that the government has set up the regulations of absolutely taxing the crap out of foreign buyers. Because not only do you get the HARPTA, you also get the foreign, the FERPTA. And so they take a pretty big chunk out of your profit when you try to come sell.
And HARPTA and FERPTA, if you've never heard those terms before, are tax withholdings.
Right.
And taxes that ultimately come from the sale of a home. And so you have one if you're an out-of-state resident, and you have an additional one if you're out-of-state
and foreign country. Right.
And they really add up.
Right. It's like 20%.
And it's important to know if you're a buyer too, which probably most of the audience is, because if you go and sell, say, in a few years, if you're not a Hawaii resident, they will affect you.
Yes, they will.
So don't say we didn't warn you about that.
Yeah. And also, I just found this out.
Yeah.
That if you sell your house to somebody who actually lives in Hawaii, you have a less of a tax hit than if you. So if you sell to someone who's local, it works out better for a tax, like when you do the conveyance tax or something, than if you sell to somebody off island.
Oh. Yeah, there's you guys. You can find all this information about HARPTA on the county tax site, and also talk to your tax person too, because there are like some different strategies for this. But that's interesting.
Yeah, so there you go. Because the taxes affect everybody. Either coming or going, you're going to get it. So
you're going to get it a lot if you're real estate.
But in terms of what's happening in East Hawaii as well, in those areas, there's just a lot of new homes being built, right? And so
not as many as we need, though, is what they say.
Well, a heck of a lot more homes should be being built over on that side.
Yes.
But have you seen, let's say in the last 4 years, when these houses seem to be being faster, right? Do you see more buyers coming into the market buying those brand new homes, or are they still looking for the older inventory that's less expensive?
No, they would. This is the second time I've been asked this question this week, actually,
okay.
Weirdly. I would say there is a large chunk of buyers who are buying the new construction, especially some of the really affordable new construction. You can kind of get all levels of new construction. But there's some really affordable new construction in neighborhoods like Ainaloa. I would say there's a lot of people are very, very drawn to those. I have a lot of buyers who do want a newer home, but I will say on the flip side, there are a lot of buyers who want older homes with character on the east side too.
Yeah.
So I don't know even the exact stats on mine, but mentally I'd say maybe it's almost 50-50, maybe a little bit more toward new construction with my personal clients over the last few years. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a ton of people who want those new construction homes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously there's less problems with the construction. You might not get a front yard, but whatever.
Yeah.
Or a backyard or a sad yard.
Weird cinder lots, but stuff grows fast, but it is a lot of work. There's something to be said for buying a property with
mature landscaping. Yeah.
Trees, all of that.
Yeah. Okay. So Hilo.
Hilo. Oh, wait, one more thought that I had. Something that a lot of people don't realize too when they're shopping in areas in East Hawaii. Anywhere on the island, really, but in East Hawaii a lot. Those new construction homes, a lot of them will come really bare bones, so they might not have a carport, they might not have a gravel or paved driveway, they might not have a gate, fencing, some of them will put a little bit of starter landscaping in, but those things and also protective tree trimming on neighboring lots from those albizzias that could be really dangerous if they're too close to homes. Those things can really, really add up. So if you're just kind of comparing prices in houses, that's something to really pay attention to. The cost to get just fencing on a house in Hawaiian Paradise Park in an East Hawaii, in an affordable East Hawaii neighborhood is insane.
Thousands of dollars.
So yeah, tens of thousands of dollars.
And rock walls. Our friends the Bonds.
Oh yeah.
Put the fencing. Well, no way. I'll tell you. You know what the Bonds did? They actually negotiated fencing into the sale of the house.
These are things that you
there you go. So you can say
are smart, because if you're not paying attention, you kind of are just looking these are the same kind of home, and this one's so much cheaper. those things add up, and you can negotiate those, especially with builders. You can everything is negotiable in real estate, and buyers, like, I would say you are more in the control seat right now with these homes sitting on the market an average of 70 days.
Yep. And just because if you don't know this, I mean, if you guys are watching this, unless you're in the business, you don't think about it. It's called holding costs. So the longer that these people are sitting on an empty house where they're paying to have that house sitting there, it costs them every single day they're not selling that house.
Yes.
So they're getting more and more a little nervous and kind of like losing money if they don't sell these in a certain time frame, and then they're willing to say, you know what, I just want to get rid of it. Get it out of I got things to do.
Loss.
Yeah, if they have to, because
it's
they're
an
bleeding.
overall less of a loss.
Yeah.
If they can keep moving things. So these are things to really be aware of if you're looking at buying.
Yeah, and also if you're selling too, that pricing competitively to begin with to get your house off the market quicker lessens the amount of holding costs that you too will have on your side.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too. It's kind of like a strategy where before 2 years ago that they were flying off the market. But if you're holding onto a house 70 days longer than you thought, now you're your mortgage payment, your insurance, everything else. So price it right, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we have South Hilo. So there's not as many interactions in the South Hilo district. Transactions.
Okay.
Interactions
of sellers and buyers.
Yes, there we go. But it is an active market still. So there were 21 single family homes that sold in South Hilo district in October, same month we just talked about for Puna. So let's talk about the median price. $545,000 for Hilo. That is down from the month before where it was $600,500 for the median value. And a year ago it was $565,000. So we are down a little bit from a year ago, down a decent amount from last month for the Hilo district there. Now that's just 21 single family homes, so it is a snapshot of data, but it is an interesting little micro trend there. But this was interesting. The average days on market were only 36 for those homes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and the month before that it was 33. Now a year ago it was 71.
Oh, and again, I think those mortgage rates were not helping anybody.
Yeah, I mean there were more homes that sold a year ago compared to this past this chunk of data. There were 28 single family homes compared to 21.
But they sat on the market longer.
They sat on the market a lot longer at the same time last year.
Yeah. So the interest rates now are like around 6.3, where last year they were like 8. And there's less inventory, less to choose from. And if you're hell bent on buying a house in Hilo, you're probably going to snap up whatever comes on the market, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting, because when you have so much to choose from, let's say an HPP, and also how big the space is, where like little Hilo, maybe it's and also I think maybe people are looking also the pros and cons of one versus the other. And HPP is growing fast, and it takes you longer to get anywhere when you live in HPP. Whereas if you live in Hilo, you're in the middle of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely people. I would say like it's kind of on some ways like a different type of buyer in Hilo in Puna. But there are some people, if you're more of like a Hilo person, you might really, really want to be close to like a hospital or the airport or the university or some like the shop, stuff like that. Your money, as we just found out from the median price, does not go as far in Hilo. But there are some people who just really, really want to be in Hilo. And then there's other people that it's more important to them to take on like maybe even that commute to have more space for the price.
Right. An acre.
Yeah.
Right. So you can do different
like
things.
HPP is an acre. Inaloa has a lot smaller of lot sizes, but the prices like really
a lot
make it
lower.
worth it
Yeah,
to
$300,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same lava zone, by the way, in both Hilo and these neighborhoods that we're talking about. At least there are more lava zones in Puna, which is why overall the median price is a lot lower. But it really is like, some people just absolutely do not want to live in Puna. They don't want that commute. They don't want to be down there. They want to be close to town. And Hilo is more affordable than if you start to go to look at median prices in like, Waimea or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
It's also pretty desirable.
Yeah.
When you get anywhere else outside of Hilo, you're not going to get much more affordable than Puna or Hilo.
Yeah. So. You can't get much more affordable in Puna than almost anywhere else in America.
That's true. Unless maybe, what was we talking about, Ohio or something? Oh, sorry. Wait, if anyone's from Ohio, maybe I said that wrong. So I'm sorry. Like your houses are, you're smart to live somewhere where you can get a really nice house.
Can you afford it? Yeah. Okay. So also, if you are coming to look at a second home, also, because some people are, this is the time of year that people start saying, I can't stand another day sitting in the snow in the wintertime.
I don't blame you guys.
The good news is the short-term vacation rental bill that would have affected your ability to buy a second home and rent it have just been shelved by the county. So
That's a big deal.
it is a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, the county's definitely going in the direction of more regulation on this stuff. So, always be like anticipating, if you're a planner and want to make wise decisions for a decade from now, that they will probably keep pushing this kind of legislation.
Yeah. But the opposition was so great. And also the way they kept messing around with what they're going to put in that bill, that it became so convoluted and so big and yucky that they just said, you know what, we just can't do it right now. And there are a lot of people who, island-wide, make their money from what they're using their rooms and their cottages and their ohanas for.
Pay their mortgages.
Pay their mortgages. And so there's just the economic harm that was going to be done. So they're going to do an economic impact study, basically, to see how much economic impact would happen if people were lost the ability to rent out their homes. And so at least they're going to look at the numbers. So we'll have numbers to look at instead of just like this, oh, don't do that. So it's in the works. So that's one thing we do with these little updates. We tell you what's going on in Bill 121. It's good news for the people in HPP because there are no hotels, right? And so to be able to offer people an opportunity to stay 10 minutes from Volcano and away from a big city and get a chance to kind of get the flavor of what it likes to, the whole tropical experience of Hawaii.
Yeah.
And that these people have that opportunity now to make sure they don't have to worry about it. So
that's a good example of how like people like voicing their opinion. And like if you're frustrated, which I know probably a lot of people are in the country about like national politics or all this stuff that we've been inundated with a lot over the last month or 2 months, you can really make a difference. And like she is like such a champion of actually doing this. Like you can really make a difference like in your local community by not only
stand up and just say something.
We have a studio audience.
We have a studio audience member. Thank you. Yeah, because you know what? One thing I've learned about this election cycle is that when people say, "Oh, la la la," I'm like, "Well, did you vote?" Well, no. So like, okay, well, then you don't have an opinion.
Yeah. You don't get an opinion if you don't use your voice, but your voice, like, if you can make a difference, like, especially on an island
local
community.
basis. Yeah, and so when I say, maybe you can influence national or international politics yourself.
Yeah.
But if
you're not saying you shouldn't vote nationally.
No, you should. Well, however you want. Yeah. But if you see, I know I'm calling it my new campaign. If you see something, say something.
Oh, we should make you a T-shirt.
I know, because it's like I saw people being upset with what was going on with the parking issue in Kona, and I said, you know what? Everyone was kind of, somebody should do something. Somebody needs to do something. Somebody. And I'm like, somebody. Okay, that would be me. So then you get people involved with, basically taking the problems, you don't have to use the word grievances, to elected officials and say, hey, can you at least look at this? And like what I got today, I'm telling you guys over on my side, the county actually reached out to me. They did. So the mayor's office actually said, here is all the properties down in the downtown core area. We've looked at every single one of these as an opportunity to create parking lots. None of them work. And he went through every single one of the properties that's available. And he told me why it wasn't going to happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's a lot of issues with that land. And that's just it. We are all not land planning usage people. So, but you know what, though? You can ask questions.
Yeah.
You can say, you know what, can you help me understand this? And then you can say, okay, now that we have this information, maybe we can look for other opportunities to solve the problem. And so, this is in the works, and you guys are going to be shocked because if this happens, you heard it here first, that we're working with, one of the parking companies to offer a 1-year pass where you get to park downtown for the
gosh,
for the low price of like $60. You can park downtown as much as you want for the entire year.
Well, I feel like you're going to have to, like, in the edit, make a teaser of that at the beginning so people watch it. We're going to have to be like, there's a major...
And you know, again, people sometimes say, well, how does that have anything to do with East Hawaii? Because everyone's on this side saying, well, if it's happening in West Hawaii, it might end up in East Hawaii.
Yeah.
So,
it definitely would probably end up in East Hawaii. But also, people from East Hawaii come to West Hawaii all the time.
Yeah. And they want to come and they want to enjoy the whole thing, down near the water and next to have a cocktail next to the ocean.
A long way to get here. We shouldn't have to also pay for it.
Right. So we're working on it. Eric has a question. I forgot this was live.
Repeat my question, okay?
Okay.
Problem with many economic studies. This is Brad.
Oh, okay, Brad. Hi, Brad.
And a problem with many economic impact studies is that they look at the whole and not the individual impacts. Pricing people out of their only home.
Yeah.
And this is Aloha, Julie, Amber.
Hello. You know what? We've used the word law of unintended consequences
Exactly.
a lot recently. And that's why I think, and then, okay, just to continue on in this one, then someone from the state actually called me too.
Oh.
Yeah, this is like a thing now, right? And he said, I want you to know that it takes at least 2 years. You ask for the money, and it takes like 2 years to get the funding to do the thing you want to do. So he's like, government moves slow. And government moves slow sometimes for a reason, because you don't want to keep doing these knee-jerk reactions and then mess up a whole experience of people that you didn't even realize you were going to impact. So there's that. So.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard not to. I could go on a tangent on this. Although I think maybe you should run for mayor. And, let's just consider it.
I'm just saying, I am actually down
the road. Let's
if I had another life to live, I think I would have gone into public policy and planning.
Yeah.
Because how cities work is actually fascinating.
Yeah.
Because of all the things that you have to worry about. You have to worry about transportation, waste removal projects, the whole thing. And I don't think they teach this in school about where does stuff go and how does it work all together. And that's basically what our county is being charged to do. So one person's going, well, what about this? That guy has it in his head. He's like, oh, there's 40 things over here that you don't know about.
Yeah.
That affect the thing that you're talking about. And here we're trying to protect the coastal region. We're trying to get everybody off of septic and get them off of cesspool and put them on septic. And then we listen to our friends Lance say, can you imagine trying to change over all the cesspools? There's 11,000 of them on this island. How much money, talent, and engineering that is going to take to make it happen within a very short amount of time. And then you kind of go, oh, well, that's hard.
Yeah.
And so you go slow. A little bit along the way, but it's all very interesting how it all ties together. So when you decide, if you are listening to this and moving to an island, because we live on an island, everything impacts everything. Mm-hmm. So being involved and listening to what's going on is a good thing. In fact, I'll give you guys another little thing. Check your insurance rates when you're putting in the cost of housing, especially if you are in, let's say, Hilo, and probably on your side too, because of the hurricanes, right? So hurricane insurance. Right. So I had a couple that were looking for a home in Hilo, and then they did the research on what it was going to cost. Because of the age of the roof, that affected what they were going to have to pay for insurance. So that's something you guys consider too about like new construction. Maybe that does give you a better insurance rate.
Yeah, you might get a better. Yeah, I mean, very likely with the nuances of that particular house that your buyers were looking at, like that definitely affected the insurance rates. Also, a good idea to shop around and use a local Big Island-based agent, which Julie and I can give you references for that too, and like price compare and shop around. Mm-hmm. And if you're a cash buyer, you're kind of in a unique situation where you can get the kind of insurance that you want. If you are, financing, like the majority of buyers, sometimes your loan will require a certain amount, I think always, a certain amount of coverage. Or if you refinance, for example, like some people have looked at refinancing, and then the lender said, well, then you're going to need to upgrade your insurance to this. And the cost of doing that was I think prevented them from wanting to even refinance. So insurance is something definitely to consider. Yeah.
Well, and also, I'll throw you something else too. We were selling a condo over here in Kona, and they got the lender involved, and they found out that the master insurance policy was going to pay out, like they wanted the person, if the building got leveled, they wanted the lender to put in 7%, and then they would pick up the rest. And the lender's like, oh, that's not our policy to take up 7. We'll take 5, but we won't do 7.
Oh, interesting.
They went through 3 lenders.
Yeah.
And we're 3 weeks past when we should have closed because of this. And so again, this insurance thing, guys, it's a thing. So,
it's going to probably just be a more challenging thing, is my prediction. Wow, I'm making a lot of predictions. This is like unusual for me. But it's going to just get more and more challenging, everything about insurance, I think, with everything we're just seeing.
And after what happened in North Carolina and South Carolina and Florida and everything else. But just think about this, you guys. That's all I'm saying. Think about the extra costs. So don't look at just the base cost of the house. Look at the little things along the side and do some research. There you go. Because these people we're dealing with are very intelligent. They do a ton of research. Yeah. I think sometimes you can research yourself right out of your house. Yeah. But, I think that if you're on a fixed income, you should know what you're going to pay for. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm always like this. Do I need more money? I will work harder. That's why we're here. Because we work really hard because we're realtors. So please use us.
That's right. Oh, there is one stat. Do we want to go over it really fast that I didn't mention for South Hilo? Just, our final list sales price.
Okay.
95%. It was 96, almost 97% last month. So down a little bit.
Okay.
And a year ago, it was only 90.4%.
So
we're getting closer at probably pricing correctly.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of factors there.
Yeah. It seems as if there were buyers that were pulling out of the market last year, and then sellers had to sit there with it a lot longer and then make bigger price cuts. So here we go again, you guys.
Exactly.
If you had bought last year, but think about the fact that what they say, the best time to buy a house was yesterday, and the next one is today. So, you know, what I'm saying, if you guys listen to what we're prognosticating is that more buyers are going to come into the market in 2025 now that the election is over and people feel like they can, like, you know, get a handle on what's going to happen. So,
yes, 7 out of the last 8 election years, which is decades of years that I'm talking about, home sales, both homes, the amount of home sales and the home prices have increased the year following the election year.
There you go.
I think the exception was 2008, which everything, you know.
That was weird. Yeah, that was a bad year. That was a horrible year.
Yeah.
So, is there any other questions from our live studio audience?
No, we got a few people here, but nothing.
Okay. So if you do want to be on the live side, make sure you go to 365hawaiiliving.com and you can join the Ohana. It is for people who are considering buying a home. And so you'll be able to jump in and get on this Facebook group. And you'll also be getting access to free PDFs of books, how to move to Kona, and also an East Hawaii moving resource guide. And also you get to be in on these open conversations. So if you're over on YouTube land and you wish you can actually ask questions live, jump over if you're thinking about, buying a house. And then we'd hope that if you're going to join that group that you would want to work with our team, because we put a lot of time and effort into doing this. And Amber drives 4 hours every time we do this to bring this information to you live. So please work with us. And is there anything else?
No, I think that's it. I got a great listing in HVP that just went on the market today for $615,000. Really, really cute 3-bed, 2-bath. If anybody wants to see it, shoot me a message.
Okay, why don't you could drop that into the group too.
Oh yes, I'll drop it into the group.
Yeah, and if anybody's looking for, we still have our listing, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it's $998,000.
Why would you ever move there when you could buy my listing for $615,000?
The plug for East Hawaii. So we hope you guys have a really great Thanksgiving, which is coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And so we'll see you guys in mid-December, and hopefully when we come back, we'll also give you a little bit maybe update. At least I know again it doesn't really affect East Hawaii, but maybe I'll tell you some good news about what happened over here in Kona.
Yeah, we'll have a holiday spectacalar market update.
Yes, and also we're going to do more predictions, right? So, because she should be wearing like a little Swami hat now because she's a prediction analyst. So, but hopefully we'll continue to bring you guys value and good information. So, with that, we say
Aloha.
Aloha.